Good morning, children. Today we will study the group 18th element, that is, they are called as noble gases. The elements helium, neon, argon, krypton, and xenon and radon are grouped together in group 18 of the periodic table. All these are gaseous under ordinary conditions of temperature and pressure. The last member of the group, that is radon, is obtained from radioactive disintegration. They are also known as the rare gases because their abundance in the atmosphere is very less. So now we'll study the occurrence of these gases. All the noble gases except radon are present in air in small amounts. The relative abundances of noble gases in dry air is near about 1% by volume, of which argon is the major constituent. Helium and sometimes neon are found in minerals of radioactive origin, for example, pitchblende, monazite, clavite, etc. Xenon and radon are rarest element of the group. Radon is obtained as a decay product of 226 radium. 226 is the atomic mass of the radium. This radium is changing into radon, 222 atomic mass, and then helium. Water from certain springs also gives off gases which are rich in helium and argon. The relative abundance of noble gases along with their electronic configurations are given in the following table. Now electronic configuration of the noble gases is given and their abundances also you can see in this table. The helium electronic configuration 1s2. All the noble gases have completely filled shell. For neon 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. For argon is 3s2, 3p6. Krypton is 4s2, 4p6. Xenon is 5s2, 5p6. And radon is 6s2, 6p6. And the relative abundances are given. The helium 5.2 into 10 to the power minus 4. For neon 1.8 into 10 to the power minus 3. For argon is 9.3 into 10 to the power minus 1. Krypton is 1.1 into 10 to the power minus 4. And for xenon is 8.7 into 10 to the power minus 6. The valential electronic configuration for helium is 1s2 and for other inert gases it is n(2) np6. The stable configurations of noble gases are responsible for their inert behavior. Now we'll study some general property, that is the general traits in the physical properties. So in the physical property, the first property we'll study here, the physical state. All of them are monoatomic, colorless, odorless and tasteless gases. All the gases, the noble gases, are colorless, odorless and tasteless, and they are monoatomic also because they cannot form the bond because they have completely filled valence shell. Now the second is the solubility. They are sparingly soluble in water. The solubility generally increase with increase in atomic number. So this is for the solubility of these gases. So they are very sparingly soluble in water. Now the third point is related to the boiling point and melting point. Due to weak intermolecular van der Waals forces between them, they possess very low boiling point and melting point in comparison to those of other substances of comparable atomic and molecular masses. However, the boiling point and melting point increases with increase in atomic number because van der Waals forces become stronger with increase in size of the atoms or molecules. So in the these gases, the forces which are working between the gases, molecules or intermolecular forces, they are weak van der Waals forces, and that's why they have low melting and boiling point. And now these van der Waals forces depends upon the size of the molecules or atom, and that's why when we move down the group, or there will be increase in atomic size, then there will be increase in the magnitude of van der Waals forces. Therefore, among noble gases, radon has the highest melting point and boiling point, whereas helium has the least melting point and boiling point. Now the next property is atomic size. In case of the noble gases, the atomic radii correspond to van der Waals radii because they are not forming the bond. So they do not have the covalent radius, but they have van der Waals radius. Therefore, these are quite large as compared to atomic radii of other atoms belonging to the same period. As we go down the group, the van der Waals radius increases due to the addition of new electronic shells and increase in screening effect. Due to these two reasons, increase in the number of shell and increase in the screening effect, there is increase in the atomic radius when we move down the group. Now the fifth point is ionization enthalpy. The ionization energy of noble gases are very high. This is due to the stable configuration of noble gases. However, the ionization enthalpy decreases with increase in atomic number from helium to radon due to increase in atomic size and decrease in effective nuclear charge. As you have seen, the electronic configuration, they have completely filled shell, and that's why very large amount of energy is required for the removal of electron. But when we move down in a group, because there is increase in atomic size, so there will be decrease in ionization energy. The next property is the electron gain enthalpy. Due to the stable configuration NH2NP6, this is stable electronic configuration, noble gas atoms have no tendency to accept additional electron. Therefore, their electron gain enthalpies have large positive values because they cannot gain because they have already filled outermost shell, and that's why their electron gain enthalpies values are largely positive, and that's why they cannot gain electron, or they do not have tendency to gain electron. Now we'll study the chemical properties. The noble gases are generally inert and do not participate in the reactions easily. The inertness of the noble gases is due to the following reason. Now the first reason is the atoms of noble gases have stable closed shell electronic configurations because they have completely filled shell. The second is the noble gases have exceptionally high ionization energies. That means there is no chance to form the positive ion. The third point, the noble gases have very low electron affinity. That means they cannot be converted into anion. So these are the reason for the inertness of the noble gases. Now we'll study about the reactivity of the xenon here. Prior to 1962, it was thought that noble gases do not combine at all with other elements, and hence no serious attempts were made to synthesize their compounds. However, in 1962, it was observed by N. Bartlett that oxygen reacts with PTF6 to form a compound O2 positive PTF6 minus. In this compound, oxygen is oxidized to O2 plus and the ionization enthalpy is 1175 kilojoule per mole, and xenon 1170 kilojoule per mole are comparable, he thought that an analogous reaction should be possible with xenon because they are having the same ionization enthalpy or comparable ionization enthalpy. That's why he thought that if oxygen can make a compound, then xenon can also make a compound. And that's why he tried the reaction between the xenon and PtF6 by direct interaction and synthesize the first compound of noble gases, xenon positive PtF6 minus, in the form of red crystalline solid. And you can see the reaction here. Xenon plus PtF6 forms xenon positive PtF6 minus solid. Once the reactivity of noble gases was established, many more attempts were made to synthesize their compound. Now many compounds of xenon and krypton are known with fluorine or oxygen. The compounds of krypton are fewer. Only the difluoride KrF2 has been studied in detail. The compounds of radon have not been isolated so far but have been identified by radiotracer techniques. Lastly, the compound of helium, neon and argon are not known. Now we will study about the compounds of xenon, fluorides, oxides and oxyfluorides. Now the first is xenon fluoride compounds. Xenon forms three fluorides, XCF2, XCF4 and XCF6. These can be obtained by direct interaction between xenon and fluorine under appropriate experimental condition. So when xenon directly combined heated with the fluorine in the ratio xenon 2 part, fluorine 1 part, and in the nickel tube at 673 Kelvin, then it forms xenon difluoride, that is XCF2. Now the second, xenon when treated in the ratio 1:5, xenon 1 part and fluorine 5 part, then it forms xenon tetrafluoride. And when we take the ratio of xenon and fluorine is 1:20, then there is a formation of xenon hexafluoride. So xenon fluorides can be prepared, are obtained by direct combination of xenon and fluorine in the different ratios of fluorine. XCF6 can also be prepared by the interaction of XCF4 and O2F2 at 143 Kelvin. So XCF4 plus O2F2 can be converted into XCF4 plus oxygen. So this is a preparation of oxygen fluoride. Now the B part, xenon difluoride, tetrafluoride and hexafluoride are colorless crystalline solid and sublime redly at 298 Kelvin. They are powerful fluorinating agents. They are readily hydrolyzed even by traces of water. When xenon difluoride is hydrolyzed with water, it forms xenon plus 4HF. So the reaction between the xenon difluoride and water. Now the C part, the fluorides of xenon, that is xenon difluoride, tetrafluoride and hexafluoride, react with fluoride ion acceptor like PF5, SBF5, ASF5 to form adducts or form addition product in which the fluorides, xenon difluoride, tetrafluoride and hexafluoride change to cationic species, whereas the fluoride ion acceptors and fluoroanions and acceptors form fluoroanions. So XCF2 plus PF5 forms XCF positive PF6 minus. Then tetrafluoride XCF4 plus SBF5 form XCF3 plus and SBF6 minus. Here the xenon tetrafluoride is the electron fluoride ion donor and the SBF5 acceptor. So in this way there is the acceptance and the donating properties are there. So there is the formation of cationic and anionic species. the zinc fluorides are forming the cation and other species forming the anion. Now the next is xenon-oxygen compound. So A part, the oxide and oxyfluorides of xenon are obtained from the fluorides. Xenon trioxide can be obtained by the hydrolysis of XeF4 or XeF6. So first we write the hydrolysis XeF4. 6XeF4 plus 12H2O form 4 xenon plus 2XeO3 plus 24HF plus 3O2. And when xenon hexafluoride is completely hydrolyzed, then the XeF6 plus 3H2 it forms XeO3 plus 6HF. XeO3 is a colorless explosive solid. Now the B part, xenon oxyfluoride, XeOF2 and xenon oxytetrafluoride are also obtained by the partial hydrolysis of XeF4 and XeF6 respectively. So XeF4 on the hydrolysis form XeOF2 plus 2HF and XeF6 plus 2H2 form XeOF4 plus 4HF. XeOF4 is a colorless volatile solid. Now we'll study the structure of xenon compounds. The structure of xenon compounds can be explained on the basis of VSEPR theory as well as the concept of hybridization. In the formation of the fluorides of xenon, depending upon the number of XeF covalent bonds to be formed, for example, 2 in XeF2, 4 in XeF4 and 6 in XeF6. The electrons in the valence shell of xenon get unpaired, and that is you have to write the configuration in the excited state. The electron will jump in the vacant d orbital. These are promoted to the vacant d orbitals, 5d orbitals. Then depending upon the total pairs of electron, bond pairs as well as lone pairs, the molecule assumed to be a particular geometry, as you can see in the table. For the xenon difluoride, it is having bond pair plus lone pair 5. That means it is having 2 bond pair and 3 lone pair of electron, because xenon has 8 electron. Only 2 electrons are unpaired, so it is having 3 lone pair of electron and 2 bond pair. So the hybridization is sp3d and its shape will be linear. Structure will be trigonal bipyramidal, and then we put the lone pair of electron in the triangle. Now the structure of XeF4. In XeF4, xenon has 4 bond pair and there will be 2 lone pair of electron according to the total number of electron present in the valence shell. So the total number of pair of electron will be 6, where 4 bond pair and 2 lone pairs, and the hybridization will be sp3d2, and the shape of the molecule will be square planar, and the structure of the molecule will be octahedral. Then for xenon hexafluoride, there are the 7 pair. Now xenon is having the 6 bond pair and 1 lone pair of electron. So total number of pair of electron will be 7. And now the hybridization is sp3d3 and the shape will be distorted octahedral. So on the basis of the hybridization, the molecule should have pentagonal bipyramidal structure. However, this structure has not been confirmed. Thus, it is preferably believed to have distorted octahedral structure, because according to hybridization, the structure should be pentagonal bipyramidal. So now the structure of the oxyfluoride and oxides of xenon can best be explained by the concept of hybridization. The types of hybridization in these molecules and their shapes are given in the table. In the table you can see XeOF2, the hybridization is sp3d. Here the oxygen will form the 2 bond that you can see in the structure. the oxygen is bivalent here, and that's why two bond will be formed. There is one sigma, one pi bond, so we consider only the sigma bond, and the pair will be two, but the bond will be counted as one, and that's why the hybridization is sp3d, as the geometry of the molecule is trigonal bipyramidal and the molecule is T-shaped. And then HCl4 hybridization is sp3d2 and the geometry is square pyramidal. And for HCO3 sp3 hybridization, the structure geometry is tetrahedral and the pyramidal. Here the main point is here, the oxygen is bivalent and it is forming one sigma and pi bond, and we can determine structure only from the sigma bond. Then you can see in the figure, for the HCOF4, the square pyramidal shape, and then for the HCOF2, you can see the shape is T-shaped. So you can see in the diagram, there's the formation of double bond with the oxygen. So these two diagrams are showing the HCO4 and HCOF2. Then HCO3 is pyramidal because it is having one lone pair of electron, and the second molecule is xenon HCO2F2, that is distorted trigonal bipyramidal because one pair of electron is placed in the triangle. In the next you can see the HCF2 is linear because it is having three lone pair of electron, and these pair are placed in the triangle, and the two bond pair are placed in the bonds which are perpendicular to the plane. So the HCF2 is linear. Then for HCF4 is square planar because one lone pair is placed at the perpendicular orbital. So, and then HCF6 you can see that is distorted octahedral structure, so that you can see in the diagram. Now this chapter is completed, and then we will start the next chapter, that is the D block element. Now you solve the question based on these concepts, and then you can make the notes because I have already given you the notes here.